Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Cozy Book Nook. I'm here with another author interview. I'm here with Glen Somodi. Yeah. He just came out with a new book not too long ago, Draven's Run. But some of you may know him from his previous works, Ollie and the Spores. You got two books of those. Yep. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that series. We're also going to talk about Draven's Run, inspiration for that. If some of you have seen my reviews, you saw that I gave that a 4.75. Which obviously when I go on put it on Amazon, it'll be 5 stars. I round up, but there's a lot of times when we come across like indie books and stuff that a lot of times they're 4 stars. But this is the first time I've given anybody this high. Indie books I've only given maybe 5. That's awesome. Even traditionally published books 5 stars. So and most of them get like either 4 or 4.5. But so I just love that book. My wife read it; she loved the book. So we're looking forward to tonight. We have our book club. It's one of the books that we're talking about tonight, and so we'll hopefully get some more feedback from that as well. So I don't know, where do you want to begin? All the way back to the beginning to how'd your writing journey kind of begin? When did it begin?
Well, what's funny is I'd have to say COVID started everything. I started working at home, closed our office in Akron. Yeah. And because I lived about 45 minutes away, it gave me an hour and a half every day from not having to travel to Akron. Right. To do something creative, which I always wanted to do. So I had the story in mind. Yeah. And I started writing. I went to school for journalism, but it was more for the advertising side. So I wasn't really a natured writer. Right. But I've had this story in my head since I was a kid. Wow. And I'm sure you hear that a lot. So yeah, you've had this story since you were young. COVID comes along, all of a sudden you got some extra time to start to work, write on it, and just picked up started typing on your computer. What's your medium for writing? I actually use Living Writer, which is it's an app that lets you do. I do a lot of outlining with Post-it notes. Okay. And so I've got my office is a mess. It's totally messy. But I use different colored Post-it notes for different moods of the scenes in the book. Wow. So I always wanted to be a movie maker. So I think of books like a movie. And, start out with a little action. Kind of. Almost like a roller coaster, start them up, kind of bring them down. And I use those Post-it notes in different colors to show the excitement level at different parts of the book. Wow. And so, and it's something that I also teach kids how to do. But I've never done the colors. I've done the keeping notes, and they may be different colors just because I keep losing my Post-it notes. But that's that's interesting. Yeah. So that would use different colors. Yeah. Greens and blues are like calm. Reds and yellows are like the action. So you kind of start to see a little roller coaster, and and I have those up on my board. And, I kind of go off of that, and then I write the chapters off of that. So, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you were one that I guess you're more of an outliner. Yes. Outliners and plotters. I guess one of the benefits is you can really kind of plan out what it's going to look like from start to finish. Exactly. And I started that with, I brought up the Post-it notes because I use that Living Writer app, which you might actually enjoy. It has a Post-it note feature where you can put your notes on a Post-it note. They have different colors and you can move them around. You kind of have to find what works for you. Right. Whether it be Post-it notes on the wall, certain kind of software stuff. But I think a lot of authors, struggle with, don't even get started because they don't know what to use. Right, so you could just use Word, if you had to. But, if you just had to start, with Word. But once begun, half done, is what they say. But, and so 2020 came out, you started working on book 1. Now, is this part of a longer series? It's going to be 3 books total. Okay. I've got the 3rd book in progress right now. I'm hoping for August. Okay. But I'm not sure yet. I'm struggling with a little part in it, so... And I'm not even sure if my editor is going to be available. So I'm going to say end of August. But it's probably going to be September. Hey, one of the benefits of being self-employed is that a lot of the target dates are self-imposed. Exactly. So yes. Although I've told many people that I'm going to say end of August. It's almost like losing weight. You tell enough people you're going to lose weight, and you kind of feel obligated. That's funny. Well, we know we're looking forward to it. So but you were working on these, but then all of a sudden you just went off into. I got a little tired writing middle grade. Yeah. My first books were written in first person. It's really hard to write in first person and try to keep other characters in the story because they're talking, but you can't get the other characters to talk, and set up the scenes. But so anyway, so I got a little burnout on doing those, and this story was in my head, and it was very timely. Yeah. I say it's fiction for now. Yeah. But I had to get that one out. Yeah. And so I jumped over and started writing that one. That one was a fairly not quick, but faster than the first book that I wrote.
Yeah, I don't even think I remember like hearing when you started to write Draven. I just remember it was coming out. Yep. I'm like, it was totally in a different direction.
Totally.
And this one just came out in 2026.
Yep.
Right.
Well, 2025.
2025.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
End of 2025.
Did you want to have it? Were there any kind of like events coming up that you wanted to have it for?
No. Actually, I just wanted to get the story out. I know the border was a big discussion point. Yeah. Been seeing a lot of like the Boston robotics. Mm-hmm. The robotic dogs and things. They're using them for the military. A lot of the underwater drones that they're using. So it started to kind of evolve in my head. I also I was in the Civil Air Patrol, so we did a lot of search and rescue of downed aircraft using, unmanned aerial vehicles, things like that. So I had that experience, and I kind of tied it in. And I love video games.
Yeah, that was a really neat concept.
Yeah, so
I'm almost afraid the wrong people are going to read it and see it as
I'm sure it's already happening.
Possibility.
Yes, right, yes. I have a feeling that my book is not the one that sold them. I'm sure they're already on that topic. But...
So let's talk a little bit about that book, because that's, it's a very impressive book. First of all, it's about, they turned Border Patrol essentially into a game.
Yes.
Called Civil Watch.
Yes.
And essentially, it's, because kids love gaming. I myself even like gaming, even my older age. But it allows them control of these drones to patrol the border.
Yes.
And they look like animals, look like insects, designed to be scary.
Yes.
Because you want to, deter by using these creatures. But and then they can get points, they can get awards, and of course kids are going to walk around with patches on of things they've earned. Very, very topical,
pretty
and
heavy,
very possible.
Yes.
With the technology we have nowadays, the only thing I think we're lacking is a red Draven, person who wants to put all that money into this kind of device, but at the same time, it goes into the funding, for the government, and how other governments are looking for it, and then the more applications as people want to push into it.
And deadlier scenarios. There's other countries that might use it for more nefarious purposes. But
my background is cybersecurity.
Oh, great!
And a lot of things I do is working with contractors in the Department of Defense. And so one thing the government's always worried about is the technology is falling into the hands of the enemies, or the even our allies, even because we don't want them necessarily to have the same tools we have. So I can definitely see, like in this book, how they address that. Like, look, with the senator going and like, hey, it's like, I hear you guys talking to those other countries, like what's going on, because we can't have these technologies. But one thing I was pretty impressed with was your use of cybersecurity. I've read a lot of books. You usually tell when someone has a background in cybersecurity. Do you have a background in cybersecurity, or do you have a
through the civil? Well, I own a software development company.
Okay, very nice.
But I'm not a developer.
Okay,
so, I got to get that out there. But as a matter of fact, I probably should have had a developer look at the code that I put in the book.
Probably pretty impressive.
It'll probably erase their entire hard drive as they type it in. But no, I do. So I've had about 30 years of experience in software development, just hearing the words, hearing the languages, and then cybersecurity was a big function of the Civil Air Patrol as well. So, we did the cyber attack team, competition and things like that. So
because it was very, the red team, blue team is like one thing that's pretty impressive with this is the whole, how they used insiders.
Yes.
Because one thing, part of my job as cybersecurity was to do annual training for the companies I worked for and stuff. And with the CUMC certification, the only requirement they had when it came to the annual training was insider threat. Like everything else was preferential. Phishing, emails and stuff like that. Physical security, you can kind of go over based on your scenario, but the one that was mandated was insider threat. Reason being is once you get someone on the inside, that's usually the most dangerous. So it was impressive because there was some, like, you had some inside people on this one that probably would have been a different outcome if they didn't have people on the inside assisting that believed in the cause and saw this was the wrong stuff. And I really liked how you walked that fine line. So there's a couple of lines you walked and you're like, appreciate it. One, you didn't really lean one way or the other. You kind of gave a pretty down the middle, pros and cons of this. Like, obviously you're like, oh my God, this is like, they're playing this game and dealing with real people.
People are dying.
But you also gave like the other side of how the people playing the game saw themselves as patriots, how they saw them as doing their civic duty almost, So I really appreciated that it wasn't like really one way or the other preachy. It was pretty much, this is a story.
Right. Yeah, and I tried not to put too much politics into it.
It was just right.
My wife was a little worried. She was like, "Hey, can we change it?"
Hot topic.
Yes.
Hot topic, people. So yeah, I can
She's like, are people
going
to think that that you're either racist or you're trying to get immigration stopped or whatever? But actually, when you get to the end of the book, I try to offer solutions. So definitely look at both sides of the fence, no pun intended. But
sure.
Try to offer a solution at the end to try to improve immigration, but also protect the border. So.
And I appreciated how in there too, how they renamed the immigrants that were coming over as hoppers.
Yes.
Giving them that nicer term that kind of rolls off the tongue. So when when they're playing this game, they don't necessarily, they see it as a character in the game as opposed. And that's happened a lot throughout history. So you even took it one step further, with that to kind of like describe how people can use it to desensitize themselves, from what they're actually doing.
Yes, and it's something the media in the book, the media can use that word, without triggering anybody. Is kind of the idea.
So one thing that the protagonist, young girl, really good at computers.
Yep.
And so it starts off kind of with her struggle of trying to get over the people that she's with. Do you have anybody like in mind? Is there like because a lot of times you pull inspiration from heroes of history, family members, things like that. Is there anything that kind of drove this particular character?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I do pay attention to a lot of the discussions about the border and the politics of it, and the economics of immigrants. And my grandparents were immigrants from overseas, so they went through Ellis Island.
Yeah, okay.
So I definitely have a connection there. So I understand immigration. I think we do need to improve it, increase some of the immigration on in certain ways. So that was kind of.
I think it always be approved and built upon. And one thing I think that your story really kind of shows is almost a lack of compassion on one side, but sometimes the over compassion on the other side.
Exactly.
And where there's a need, but then somebody fills that need, and it's almost like an overkill. It's almost. If you had, because in the book, they pretty much, because of this game, Civil Watch, they pretty much don't have border patrol anymore because they don't have no need for it.
Exactly.
Now you have these drones pretty much doing the whole thing, so you no longer need employees. So I don't want to go into the ending and stuff, but it's almost like you're taking apart that infrastructure. That if something happened, in this particular case, it's like now you don't have the infrastructure. Something goes wrong, you put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
It's very, very much like the conversation now with AI.
Yes.
AI is going to start taking a bunch of jobs, and very much like the AI and the robots in this book. So the border patrol isn't needed anymore because. Citizens are playing a game and running the border, so, and it's a private company.
And it's effective. And that's the other thing that we've noticed throughout history, and American history especially, is how everything's become privatized. And when you have that privatized, while that takes some of the burden and cost off, taxpayers and the government, what happens, it puts the consciousness, the ethics into a private company that has board members and stockholders that need to answer to,
and not controlled by voters,
and not controlled by voters. So it's more just a.
You could get in trouble with it.
So I mean, like I said, I like the protagonist in this. She's got a reason. She's got the skills, and she's got the people that's giving her the support. And you really feel to her. Is there more coming? For the story?
Not for that story.
Okay.
I do have another AI related book that's in the works.
Okay.
I got the first chapter written.
Okay.
And it's called Brain Cell.
Okay.
And I'm not going to give away too much of the story, but it's basically using human brains as AI machines.
Interesting.
And the government stealing brains.
So instead of going the route of using this as a battery, you're going to use what we actually could be used for.
Connecting a brain up to as a computer, and so collecting different brains from different professions. So scientists, philosophers.
That's pretty impressive.
And connecting them together in a neural network.
Oh wow!
So you're even though you may not be alive physically, your brain is still alive, and all of that knowledge that you've learned is connected with all of the other brains that they've stolen.
And that sounds terrible, but coming from an IT background of somebody who read the book like Scythe, where AI solved all the problems, people are immortal, and it's like, but if you do that, you can map the human brain much faster, leading to much more immortality much sooner, or going into an android body much earlier, based on the that kind of. But it's almost it's almost like the kind of research that you pull unethically, but it may cure a disease, but the way you did it, during times of war, maybe. So that's going to be a pretty good challenge. And I do, like I said, with this one, I didn't read, I haven't read the Ollies. That's probably that's meant for like a younger audience. I do want to definitely read them. But that one, I do appreciate how you did kind of go in there and really go into the explanation. It's almost like, because it's very realistic. It's something that nothing in your book is so far-fetched that it couldn't be done.
It's fiction for now.
Exactly. It's fiction for now. I can't even tell people it's like a dystopia future. It's like a dystopia now.
It could be a couple weeks away.
It could be something that one person is like, maybe a guy who becomes the first trillionaire in history decides, hey, that's
funny.
Good.
I did send that book. I did send that book to a bunch of different people.
I was like, whatever you do, don't read Glen Somodi's book.
Elon Musk, if you're listening, don't read this book.
Got some investment opportunities. Oh my god! But yeah, because and it was interesting how they did the insects and stuff. How they would do trial and errors, and they were truly horrifying. They would open up, and they were non-lethal, supposed to be at least, and they were just terrifying. You see these red eyes glow. They stand up, and they're like 6-7 feet, and they hook you, and then they shock you with electric.
Shock you, or use their pinchers, or
And I do appreciate how well you did the fear, of the people that were having to deal with these creatures, but also the cover-ups and the consequences of when someone inevitably dies, or is injured.
It's probably very realistic.
And there's something where now the company's like, we can't share this, you're going to lose face, and how that it's easy to look and say, oh, you're just evil, but at the same time, it's like you see that in modern day where it's about protecting the company,
And now, even with the government privatizing, like you said, companies, you kind of are in that weird spot where you can't stop a private company, from doing their business anymore because it's privatized. And can the government take it back over? They don't have the border control,
or even the desire if they've got stock in it.
Exactly.
So at that point,
they're saving a lot of money, and the voters are saying, "Hey, you're saving us a bunch of money." So
this really is an interesting book. So if you haven't read this Glen Somodi's book, it's called Ravens Rise. It's an independently published. It's an indie book. We carry it on our shelves here, but if you're looking for like that sci-fi book, and I like how you did put the actual creatures are in there with their actual information as far as their dimensions, their abilities, almost like
weaponry,
their stats.
Exactly.
Because the players can choose, they get upgrades, better weapons, better drones,
better insects,
and as they come out, they're almost like used as the beta readers. And as a matter of fact, even the company can uses that to push more of their agenda forward. Without them even realizing. I really appreciate your attention to detail on this.
Thank you.
The realism is scary, but the storyline, and I will tell you without giving spoilers long, it does have a very satisfying ending. It is one of those, and I always tell people, it's like, I read a good book, and I'm like, it has to stick the landing. I'm like, if you want to get a good rating from me, if you want me to finish the book, you can have a terrible book and stick the landing. I'm like, all right, that had at least satisfied ending. Or you can have an amazing book and just
kill it at the end.
And I'm like, I can never read it again.
Tease you for the next one.
Game of Thrones season 8. It's like I can't even watch the series anymore. But there's some that really do stick the landing with the story. But this is like a really overall good book.
Thank you.
And at the very end, that's the highest rating I've given any book.
Thank you. Yeah.
And anybody knows me, is like I give away stars like they're, I only got a certain amount of them to give in a lifetime.
I really appreciate it.
And so when I recommend this book, it's 4.75 stars. I guarantee you're going to enjoy this book. So definitely grab it. Well, thank you, Glenn, for joining us. You're going to join us now for the book club.
Yes.
Talk to some of our readers who have read this book. They're going to give you some feedback and be able to answer some questions for them. I think they're going to be as sad as I am. There's not going to be a follow-up. Now, it does conclude fairly well. But I feel like there's still more.
Who knows?
Maybe later on, might come back. What? And then today's environment, you look around okay, I see what could have happened.
Maybe I'll move the machines up to Mars.
You never know. You never know. Right. But again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing the next Ollie book coming out. So hopefully, you're doing the sci-fi one. To hopefully done by August.
No, this the third book of the series, the final. Yeah,
final.
So I'm going to finish off.
I'm
going to work on the other one, and funny enough, a romance.
Really?
Yeah.
I do appreciate the fact you're going to go outside of your zone.
Yeah. I have such a good story for. It's not like a hot romance.
Yeah.
It's like more of a mystery romance.
Okay.
But I've just got a great idea for it. So it's brewing.
Yeah. Well, your writing is great.
Thank you.
So if you carry that over into your romance, I'm sure it's going to be just as well received. Again, Glen Somodi, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you guys in the next indie author interview here at the Cozy Book Nook. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you.